My mother was a great woman. On behalf of my family, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today in the celebration of her life. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Tim. I am Angie's son. When Pastor Brad asked me to introduce the family and say a few words today, I instantly pictured myself as some game show announcer on some cheesy game show, saying something like, "Grandma Lucy, come on down." But I decided that was probably a bit over the top, even for my mother's slightly crazy sense of humor. So for once in my life, I decided to go with more of a traditional approach with this duty. Instead of introducing the family, I just want to thank you all and stuff. My mom really wanted this day to be a joyous day. She wanted it filled with laughter and smiles and an overall feeling of contentment. I've been fretting about this moment more than anything else since Monday. Fortunately for me, the multiple tasks leading up to now have delayed this process. The seemingly endless paperwork, the running around, the gathering of the documents, the selection of the pictures and the music have all distracted me from having to come up with this issue here. Well, last night was actually the first night that I could actually sit down and decide what I wanted to do today. I had to figure out how to make this somber occasion into something a little bit more joyous and fun. There was no more papers to sign. There was no more letters to write. No more pictures to choose. Nothing left but for this one thing. So I started searching for the solution. Like my mother, all you students are going to appreciate this. I started writing them down on Post-it notes. Okay? For all of you that know my mother, if you ever saw her office or anything like that, she had these things posted everywhere. Okay? My first idea was balloons. Well, that didn't work. Then I said something about clowns. That was no good either. I started going with ponies, and she already had plenty of horses and stuff. You know, it was 3 o'clock in the morning by this point, and everything was starting to sound pretty good. So I just sat there. Okay. As I was sitting there, looking at this endless pile of paperwork that I'd been filling out all week and stuff, I was starting to feel a little bit down and hopeless on this. I didn't know how I was going to do this. And the corner of the obituary that Pastor Brad was sticking out from one of the pieces of paper, and it sort of caught my eye. And I went, there it is. There's my solution. There's a solution to this problem. The guidance that I was seeking in this, and the answers to all of my dilemmas. And it was written in her own words, sharing the stories of her life. Not the dull drab ones that everybody has, but the ones that were so frequent and uplifting that you could not help but to smile and possibly chuckle. But where to start? That was my question. Should I talk about the time when my mom was pregnant with me? The year I was born, back in 1967, it was an exceptionally warm year in the state of Oregon where we lived. My due date was in September. It obviously, when she was 8 months pregnant in Oregon with the heat and the humidity, it left a person a little bit hotter and stickier than normal. Well, one night my mother decided she had had enough of the heat and stripped down naked as a jaybird. Well, our house was fairly secluded, and so she decided she would just sit on the front porch. with obviously the lights out, obviously. And enjoy the nighttime breeze. Well, my father, being the prankster that he was, got that mischievous gleam in his eye and concocted his next practical joke. He quickly, quietly locked all the doors and flipped on all the outside lights, illuminating my mother in all her natural glory. Needless to say, I think my dad's had to sleep on the porch that night, but we've all laughed about that series of events, especially my mother. Or how about the time after I was born that my older sister Julie, being the remarkable businesswoman that she has always been, came up with a unique and interesting way of making some quick cash. Live theater. Yeah, that's right. Even at such a young age, she understood how important the arts were. Unfortunately, the arts were my mother, and her stage was the upstairs bathtub. Now let me explain. We had this carport that led right up to the house with a stairway that led up on the outside to the roof that created the perfect audience seating area. Well, my mom was enjoying a nice relaxing bath, laying back with her eyes closed, letting the stress of the day fade away. Well, when she opened her eyes, what did she see? A bunch of neighborhood kids staring in the window at the performance of the amazing bathing woman. Well, she jumped up out of the tub, threw on her robe, and went storming outside to see what the heck was going on. What she found was my ingenious sister standing at the bottom of those stairs with tickets in one hand and money in the other. Her first successful theatrical production was very short-lived, and she ended up having to refund all of that money. Or how about the time that Mom decided to take us camping? I believe she spoke a little of that. My parents had already divorced by this time, and my mom wanted to continue that family tradition of our summertime camping trips. So Friday after school, she told us, let's get loaded up so we can go up north and go camping. So we all hurried up and got the little car that we had loaded and headed out for our adventure. We got up there, and just like normal, we set up the camp, pitched the tent, gathered all the firewood, set up our sleeping bags, and we went and caught the fish that we would be eating for dinner. Well, it was fantastic, just like the olden days. Dinner, s'mores, those great campfire stories. Then obviously it was time for bed. Well, this is where the good old camping trip took a sudden turn away from the normal and more towards, well, Mom. As Julie and I were getting ready to head to bed, Mom stopped us and told us, go get in the car. And we're going, what? Well, we then headed back down to Ketchup and ended up sleeping at the Holiday Inn that night. Camping was never the same after that, but the room service was excellent. Now, in my mom's obituary, she touched upon our formal Sunday dinners. Well, they were just that, formal. We dressed for dinner. We had linen napkins as well as linen tablecloths. We had 300 forks, spoons, knives, 6 glasses, 18 different plates and saucers. Okay, well, we didn't have quite that many things, but you get the idea. Mom did always choose fried chicken, and we're pretty sure that she did that just to torture us kids. What she didn't discuss in that was how those dinners were destined to end. It never fell.